people don't even make friends. What happens is when you meet a new person that seems interesting to you, people in Toronto do a social assessment. So they will ask you what you do, how old you are, perhaps start to think about how much money you're making, all this stuff. So what they're gonna do is they're gonna compile information on you, like a dossier, and then they're gonna see, is it worth me talking to this person? Like, is this gonna benefit me financially, socially, however, right? Because everybody's subconsciously doing social climbing. And then at that point, they're not even friends. They're all just hanging out because they all want to gain something from each other. And it's just not, it's not working. Most of the cases, it's not gonna work because when you're not giving, you're not gonna get. So it's just like, it's a circle of people trying to use each other but while having nothing to offer. Hey!
Getting an interview.
Yeah, for sure. Also, I think I have to mention that where I'm from is very poor. And I think poverty creates like solidarity. So because everybody's in the same boat kind of thing, everybody gets really close and really tight together. And I'm from Ukraine. Like where I'm from, you kind of die for your friends if you need to. So if your friends are in big trouble, you go and you come for them. If their house is on fire, you collect them and you collect their cat from the house that's on fire instead of just calling them the way people in Toronto would. They would just give you a call 3 days after they heard that your house burned down and be like, oh, hi, I heard your house burned down. Are you okay? So essentially what it does is it creates a huge gap between any sort of like, it's not even a connection anymore. It's just like an exchange of care. And then people just don't. Like, people refuse to get close to each other here for some unknown reason. I don't know what it is. It's fun sometimes, but that it also prevents you from having real friends or having somebody feeling like you have a social support system, feeling like you can come to somebody other than your family in case you don't have your family or somebody else. Like, because that's what your friends are supposed to be there for. They're supposed to be your chosen family that you value just as much as you value any other people in your life, like your significant other or your sister, your siblings. So I think that's the issue. People feel even more lonely because they can't. And it's also now a standard. Like, it's not even that people want to do this, I think it's just now a standard of how people act with each other. So even if they might want to share some personal things and be there for their friend, they feel like they can't because nobody else does it. So they're like, oh, why would I be the weird one? And then why would I stand out? So I think that might be it. I personally don't know what it is. I'm still in the middle of finding that out because Toronto social constructs are very fun. And they're just, it's fun to observe and learn, I guess. So.
Last thing is that do you think COVID-19 changed how people in Toronto think socially?
So I think morally and ethically, a lot of our pillars have collapsed because of COVID. But essentially what it did is it took away people's excuse of being busy because they have no other obligations. All they have to do is go wait in line to get something at the grocery store. That usually takes the longest part of your day, and then the rest is kind of up to you. Like, you can have engagements and stuff, but you can still make plans with people. And I think what happens is people kind of just assume that, I mean, those who were actually busy and are eager to see their friends, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, like, now people come up with other excuses to not see each other because they're still surrounded by the convenience of their own home. They don't need to do anything. And since they're the only ones who matter in the narrative of their life, they're like, well, I'm not going to see you because, and they're going to come up with 10 other excuses. And I don't think we're going to recover from it. I think what's going to happen is, like I said, I think morally, a lot of, just like the way people perceive each other is already different. People run away from each other on the street because, like, oh my God, you might have COVID. But it's just like, is it really because you think I might have COVID, or is it just because you're looking for another excuse? Which I might be very wrong, and I might just be like extremely pessimistic and nihilistic, but that's what it feels like. I'm gonna talk about social responsibility first. So social responsibility is when you meet somebody and you might not be really close friends with them, you might not have become like grown or flourished the relationship with them any further, but you have met them and you did have things to talk about in common, and you guys did share each other's company for a brief moment, and people refuse to acknowledge each other on the street. So what's going to happen is you're going to walk past a person that you met at a party and you talked to, and instead of saying hello, how are you, and just continuing to walk, they instantly get anxious because they're like, oh, I don't have any small talk to talk to this person about, so I'm just going to ignore them. Whereas small talk isn't your obligation. It's your obligation to acknowledge the human and say, hello, nice to see you, I know you, you know me, I recognize you. I think it's just a polite thing to do, to let a person know that you remember them, because that doesn't make them necessarily feel like they matter, but you do remember them. So why are you avoiding the subject? And I think that's the scariest part, because people are scared to say hello on the street to each other. How are they supposed to have conversations or create meaningful bonds when they can't even say hello to a person that they've spoken to about numerous things? And then they just shut themselves out. Everybody shuts themselves out at the cost of convenience, and then convenience fosters them just staying alone and not moving anywhere and staying socially perhaps stagnant, and then just being sad. So stop being sad. Just like, people need to give other people the try, and people who do find so much happiness, and you see it, because you will see, like, it's a very rare sight in Toronto, but when you see good friends on the street, you know they're good friends, because that's how it is, and that's how it should be always. You shouldn't have to force a friendship, and you shouldn't have to avoid people just because it's not convenient for you today, when you know they need you and you know they could benefit from your company, and vice versa. Everybody, humans are social animals. We need company. If we don't get company, we don't grow, because we don't have somebody to bounce ideas off of. We don't have somebody to bounce anything off of. You're just sitting there with a wall, and then
And it's how people feel awful when they are by themselves.
yeah, exactly.
They-
People feel horrible, and then it's a perpetuating circle, because they don't do anything about it, and then they feel worse because nobody's gonna talk to them. But if you don't start talking to people, nobody else is gonna start talking to you. If you want it, you have to do it. You can't wait for the sun to rise if it's not gonna rise. You have to go and get it, and you have to make it come to you.